So, what we're having problems with right now is we have a transmission leak. Probably also an oil leak right now. So we're going to go ahead and fix those two items. Well, we got the oil out, and when we dumped the oil out, we found that the oil was brown, and it was perfectly clean when we put it in. Brand new oil. Which means that there's contaminants in the engine, which I'm going to have to flush. I'm going to get a magnet now and see if there's any metal flakes in it. I don't think there are because it's run for such a short amount of time and brand new. Metal flakes. That's good. But go ahead and take off the center drain plug, which has a magnet in it. It's got a little bit of slime on it, but other than that, no metal flakes, no crystals, no glittery. Nothing more than slime, which I don't quite understand where it came from, because the engine was completely rebuilt all the way, top to bottom, and cleaned out before I put it back together. Which worries me a little bit, because I don't understand where that came from. But we will figure it out, and we will get it right. So, next step is to clean this up, get as much sealing off it as possible, get it all cleaned up nice and pretty. Maybe pull this little dent out of the screen, which I did myself. Yeah, and there's some rubber right there, but I think that was done when we were putting it in the tray. I don't think I got any place else. I was very sparing with the rubber sealant. So I think where our leaks came from was this, and I've never had luck with these brass crush rings that go underneath the plates. Never had luck with them. So I'm going to remove them and just seal everything, because we had leak coming from this one. You could tell there's a little bit of goo right there too, and I just do not know. But let's clean it up and find out. Well, I got it kind of cleaned up, not completely done yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it's completely cleaned up. But the plate looks alright. Still has a little bit of sealant on it, and all the holes look like they had perfectly round circles around, except for this one where the crush ring was. It didn't work. I don't know what's going on there. But other than that, I've got most of the pieces. I have a good solid rubber ring right here, so it shouldn't leak there. And I'll put a sealant kit in between here, which I didn't show you taking apart. There's rubber gaskets between these pieces, and one right here that goes against the bug. Now what I would normally do is I would go ahead and seal this thing up with a rubber gasket and put a thin coat of rubber sealant on this to make sure that it wouldn't leak. But it looks like this time I put a small amount, very small amount, and it didn't seal it, and that crush ring still leaked. Not sure, but we'll get it right. Bugs are known for leaking oil, but I don't want mine dripping on my pavement if I don't have to. I've got to clean it up as it is. So let's get to cleaning. So, got that pretty well cleaned up. Got the center bolt, drainage bolt, oil drainage bolt, whatever you call it, with its magnet in there. A lot of people would be, a lot of bug guys are like, no, you should never use any sealant on it. Sealant's horrible for the engine, it could get in there. And you're right, it could. But I use such minuscule amounts, I would see it in the screen if I did, and it got in the engine. And I've never seen it because I don't go overboard with it. Plus the fact that I hate leaks. And you never can get a leak-free bug. Maybe initially you could, but after a while you still have leaks. Everybody experiences. It's the way Volkswagens kind of mark their territory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep this up, get the seals, put it together, get it sealed up, and put it back in when the bug is completely done draining. So here's what we're going to be putting on. It's a Wolfsburg West product, I guess. Comes from Germany, supposedly. Go to their website, wolfsburgwest.com. They've got pretty much anything you could ever use on a bug. They tend to be better at body parts, but they have a lot of other things too. But they're pretty standard and they're pretty solid. So what we're going to do is, I'm not going to use these crush rings because I've got that rubber ring that goes underneath there. Normally that ring would go underneath there, it would crush down. I just don't trust crush rings when it comes to oil. So let's go ahead and do this. Now what I'm going to use is Ultra Black RTV, I believe it's called, Maximum Oil Resistance RTV Silicone Gasket Maker. The reason I use it is, one, it's black, and two, it is capable of standing up to the oil, which is always present. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if I can work on getting these dents out real quick. I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of thin copper wire, bend it, stick it in, and pull it out gently. So I went ahead and bent the screen right here back out a little bit, make it a little bit more round. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just don't like seeing it all bent up. And other than that, so let's go ahead and start sealing this thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this on the bug, get it all cleaned up, put some more sealant on here, and then I'll do that just before I put it on the bug, and then we'll tighten it all down, and we'll seal underneath the caps of each of the screws. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check to make sure my oil sump is nice and tight, which it is. Then I'm going to clean this all up, and I'll come back to you in just a moment after I get it all cleaned up. You might ask, why did I just put a little bit in that hole? Because sometimes these studs will come out, and putting a little sealant inside never hurt, just a little bit. And what we're doing is I'm trying to seal against the bottom of the case with the sealant. Basically wrapping all these things. I don't want to get too much on here. Too little is a bad thing too. So now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and clean up one of these bolts real quick so I can screw it in. Keep it on there so it doesn't fall down. And the bolts have a little bit of RTV on them too. Scraping that old RTV off. Have the brass washers, it looks like. Just a moment, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So, each one of these has one of these on it. When we have that screw on here, it screws on here and holds the plate on. One of the studs to one of these came out with it, and I'm going to put the stud back in with the actual bolt head on it too, or nut, I guess it'd be. So here we go. Now I'm only going to put that in finger tight, just enough to hold this plate on. And I'll be back in just a minute. I'm going to go clean up all the rest of these little things and get all the RTV off of them, and then I'll pull this one off and clean it too. Okay, I'm back. So I'm going to place a small amount of RTV on the head of the bottom of the screw, bolt that I just got done cleaning up, and I will place it over here and screw it on as best I can with my fingers first. Get it all nice and tight, finger tight. Okay, now second one. I put an RTV on the bottoms of these to seal the rings, the threads to the bottom of this plate right here. I used a wire wheel to clean up these things, and it cleaned it up very quickly and very simply. Now I'm going to go back and clean this one up. Okay, now I've cleaned the last one up. Put a little RTV on the bottom of it. Just a little bit. And you'll notice that when I put these on, not much comes out the edges. Too much is too much, too little is too little. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put this one in. I'm going to put just a little of RTV on it too. And ask, why did I tighten these up first? Because I don't know if I would have been able to get this bolt in if I didn't. So, you're going to see some wiggling. This is a 10mm. Oh. Hit the camera. Okay, I had to change the angle of the camera because the sun was getting in it. I'm going to tighten it down just slightly. Go to the opposite side, do the same thing. Not overly tight. Good. Just tight enough to hold it on and seal it. It doesn't actually support any weight or do any function other than seal. You'll notice that I'm going to the opposite side when I do one. Okay, that should get her. I noticed a couple of them wanted to try to spin in the sockets and do like the other one did, so I stopped. Wouldn't let them do it. Now I'm cleaning the RTV that came from the socket itself off. And if you're wondering where I am right now, which most of you shouldn't, but just in case you are, I am currently under the vehicle at the bottom center of the engine. I am wiping up all the RTV now. Getting everything clean. Well, as clean as I can until I power wash the bottom of it. And as you'll notice, around the edges, I've got oil that's splattered from the past on it. Probably when it was running in the past. I don't know. No, it never did run in the past. So it probably came from sitting and just migrating oil over time and getting dust on it from the transmission. Because the transmission is also leaking, which I gotta fix that too now. But it doesn't leak nearly as bad as this did. So we should know. I'm gonna give it about 2 hours to sit, and then I'm gonna go ahead and refill this bug up with oil, double check. And if you ask, well, why didn't you do this the first time? Well, I thought I did, but apparently I didn't. So there we go. I do make mistakes. I have to admit that. Have to admit it. I'm not perfect, even though I sometimes think I am. Okay, see you in a little while.